use of calculus to simulate the light that bounces around in a scene as it makes its way to the camera, end quote. Game development makes use of calculus in order to properly render scenes that require lighting. The branch of mathematics that is most relevant to the lighting of systems of video games is used to simulate the various dynamic properties of light, which is calculus. In a way that parallels the real world, light bounces around the scene and its properties are calculated in real time using tools from calculus. Calculus enables light to be properly rendered for a video game. While on the surface level, the areas in game development may seem trivial, these applications are extremely important. Video games are a very popular form of entertainment and media amongst all backgrounds. According to Dataprot, a statistics database, there are 3.24 billion gamers worldwide as of 2024, end quote. Given that the video games are an immensely popular hobby and form of entertainment in the 21st century, they have significant potential for learning. A learning experience that can relate to students on a personal level and can possibly connect ideas in the classroom for students to their real life can give them more motivation to learn a subject. Game development and calculus are no exception to the rule. A lot of questions proposed by students about the why of learning calculus may be best answered through showing students interactive and fun application of calculus in both their passions and everyday lives, such as video games. In conclusion, calculus has a diverse variety of applications in game development. Video games utilize calculus in order to model physics similar to what exists in the real world. In addition, video games also frequently apply calculus in order to create and render computer graphics. Lighting in particular makes advance of calculus through determining the dynamic properties of light. While video games may be considered a simple pastime for a lot of students, they also can be used as powerful learning tools in order to effectively teach students. In particular, given the egregious quantity of applications of calculus in video games can be used to motivate students to learn calculus and advanced mathematics that they may not be interested to learn otherwise. Overall, with the rise of new forms of learning, it will be very fascinating to see whether or not interactive opportunities such as video games will be utilized in order to better educate students with difficult subjects.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. So we will now be doing a 5-minute Q&A session. So if anyone has questions, feel free to speak up.
Guess I'll start. Great job, Brandon, on the presentation. It's really interesting. I've become more aware recently of gamified curriculum across disciplines. So I'm really curious, have you had a chance to work in a calculus or physics class that uses video games or any kind of like gamified approach to teaching?
I have not. Thank you for also your kind words. And I have not, but I have actually heard of students and even video games in particular just being developed to teach calculus and stuff, like specific games and stuff. So I think it's definitely a rising field. I think slowly over the years it's going to be implemented more and more, because I know in previous classes before calculus, video games were used and stuff. So I think it's going to eventually kind of extend itself kind of up the chain of education, and it's going to be seen more and more.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to hear. Yeah, because I think it. I mean, even in English and other disciplines, we're seeing it, so it makes sense for physics and calculus. So thanks for sharing that research.
Thank you.
I have one. So to your presentation, you've said lighting, collisions are motivated by calculus or built on calculus. Are there any parts of video game development that you know of that don't use calculus? It seems like it's used in all of it from what I'm getting.
Yeah, it's really used extensively. I assume maybe like some components, like maybe like just kind of getting color values from maybe like image for it to be displayed on screen wouldn't use much calculus or any at all. But yeah, it's really kind of shows because video games are really built upon like real-time scenarios and changing stuff dynamically, which calculus can be used for. So it's most of the math behind video games is calculus, but I'm sure that there's other types of math that are used in video games as well.
Nice. And then going through your research, uh, what is one of the most interesting use of calculus in game development that you've never really thought about?
Probably the one that came to me was lighting, because I assumed kind of beforehand that lighting, I didn't really know how it worked. I just assumed that it was maybe done like through some like a method of using like being done before the game was made, but I learned that calculus does it in real time and that it can be used really efficiently. I did not know that beforehand, so it really interested me that it could be used to model both something like concrete like physics, but also it could be used to model something that kind of has less of a concrete idea, such as lighting and dynamic properties.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have questions? All good. All right. So thanks, Brandon. We also, for our second presentation, is also by Brandon. His mentor, Dr. Luke Lambert, is here with us. So his presentation is the effect of ChatGPT on education. So feel free to share your screen again and we'll begin.
Is it sharing?
Yes, we see it.
The effects of ChatGPT on education. If you have been reading the news in recent times, you have heard of AI-based model ChatGPT. The language model is frequently used to answer questions that are not easily answerable in a search engine such as Google. While many other AI-based language models exist, such as Microsoft developed Bing AI, ChatGPT is by far the most popularly used. According to Reuters, ChatGPT, the popular chatbot from OpenAI, is estimated to have reached 100 million monthly active users in January, just 2 months after the launch. The explosion in popularity of ChatGPT is unprecedented in the history of the internet, even in comparison to other fast-growing websites and apps such as Facebook and Twitter. Model ChatGPT was developed by American company OpenAI and was subsequently launched in November of 2022. Since its release, it has rapidly grown and gained a substantial user base. The chatbot takes text-based input typically in the form of a question or command, and it responds to it in text-based output. In stark contrast to resources such as search engines or encyclopedias, ChatGPT can generate in-depth responses not created by humans. And then here is a map of where ChatGPT is located and the headquarters of OpenAI in particular. How does it work? ChatGPT is an AI-based language model, which means that it is powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning. ChatGPT itself does not come up with answers by itself. However, it creates some out of air. Rather, it seeks to also analyze patterns of its training dataset to come up with predictions. The dataset used to train ChatGPT consists of almost everything that is text-based, from web pages to articles to books. Due to the fact that ChatGPT can only be trained using data available to it, one training often lacks the knowledge of current events. The chatbot only knows about events that took that occurred in the dataset and therefore is aware of events that took place after the dataset was compiled. While there are many implementations and algorithms in the field of machine learning, the generic goal is to give a program data and train it. This fundamental idea of machine learning is intentionally meant to imitate the way that humans typically learn. Similar to humans, machine learning algorithms typically utilize feedback in order to correct mistakes and become more accurate with additional training time. And then here are some common uses of ChatGPT. While the AI language model can do a lot, here are some common uses. And then generating ideas, summarizing long passages or books, writing, solving problems, and generating programs. Boost in efficiency and productivity. ChatGPT has many positive effects on individuals' education and the education system as a whole. The AI chatbot can be used to empower one to be more efficient and productive. This boost in efficiency and productivity is particularly helpful for both students and educators. The Berlin School of Business and Innovation states that ChatGPT enhances the learning experience for students by providing personalized study support. It offers assistance with difficult subjects, helps with assignments, and identifies areas for improvement. With tailored recommendations and resources, ChatGPT helps students learn more effectively and efficiently. End quote. This excerpt from the article clearly illustrates that ChatGPT can be used to increase both the effectiveness and efficiency of students. Students who use a chatbot can gain a more individualized learning experience in which their areas of improvement can be targeted. A personalized learning experience for students can mean that they focus on their perceived weak points and develop them to make themselves proficient in areas that they might have not been before. ChatGPT can serve as a positive tool to help enable students to think more critically. Critical thinking is often defined as the ability for one to both process and evaluate complex information in an effective manner. In addition, critical thinking skills help one to be aware of one's own bias. According to the website JSTOR, with ChatGPT, students can engage in thought-provoking discussions and debates, stimulating their critical thinking abilities. End quote. ChatGPT is a powerful tool that can be positively used in order to improve critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills are exceedingly useful to have in the 21st century. These extremely important abilities that can be instilled in students by the chatbot are also highly extendable and applicable to education, such as the workplace or even everyday life. Students are not alone in using ChatGPT. Some educators use the chatbot as a tool as well to perform various tasks that were not manually done before. The website Medium explains teachers can use it to make lesson outlines, develop content, and design learning activities that align with educational standards. Additionally, by examining student feedback, ChatGPT can adjust and tailor lessons to better meet the needs of students. End quote. ChatGPT has many valuable uses for teachers of all levels of education. Educators can use the chatbot in order to more efficiently and effectively plan lessons. In addition, the application is often employed by teachers to ensure lessons meet educational standards. One more use of the chatbot by educators is developing lessons that are specifically designed for individual students. A teacher may create a lesson with ChatGPT that targets both skills and that they believe a student should develop these skills. They can also use the chatbot to make the lesson fit the specific interests of a student to make it more engaging for that student. While ChatGPT has many positive uses in education, it can also be misused but like any other tool. One very common abuse of ChatGPT is the utilization of the chatbot by some students to commit plagiarism and cheat on assignments. According to an article from EdWeek, more than a quarter of K-12 teachers have caught their students cheating using ChatGPT. End quote. The passage from the article demonstrates that cheating using ChatGPT is not uncommon. Students use the ChatGPT website in an application as an attempt to pass off content generated by the artificial intelligence bot as their own. In a fashion similar to the traditional plagiarism, oftentimes when a student uses ChatGPT to copy others' work rather than doing it themselves. A large majority of content generated by the ChatGPT application is unmoderated and not verified at all for accuracy. The chatbot may produce content with inaccurate data as a result. In addition to false information, sometimes it creates fake sources when citing its claims. According to several studies, the accuracy of ChatGPT also has decreased over time. Popular Science claims that GPT appears to be getting less accurate over time, end quote. The accuracy of ChatGPT worsening over time poses problems for the students and the education system as a whole, as it can mislead students. For example, if a student is learning a particularly challenging subject, they may be taught incorrect facts or methods relating to the concept. In addition, if a student uses ChatGPT for ideas for their writing and does not verify the integrity of ideas, they may produce something with false information unintentionally. In some instances, also, a student may become too over-reliant on ChatGPT, producing harmful effects. This typically happens when a very frequently uses ChatGPT to generate content and ideas for their assignments rather than doing it themselves. The Times of India states that if students become reliant on ChatGPT, their independent critical thinking skills may. Over time, students may lose the ability to think outside the box and generate original ideas. The article adequately explains that some students can become overly reliant on artificial intelligence, and as a direct result, their important skills weaken. If a student uses ChatGPT or similar services often, it may be difficult for them to critical thinking and advanced problem solving. Furthermore, if a student becomes too dependent on the chatbot to complete assignments, they may struggle to think creatively and come up with original ideas without the help. One way in order to help prevent the misuse of ChatGPT and other tools by artificial intelligence is that schools and entire educational systems should enforce guidelines. Creating a set of rules pertaining to the artificial intelligence would at the very least set expectations for students to be aware of. Several schools and universities worldwide have done so and started to put rules in place against the problems associated with the use of ChatGPT. Forbes states that New York City public schools, the largest school district in the banned ChatGPT in early January due to concerns over cheating, end quote. The prohibition of using ChatGPT by New York City public schools is a trend that law schools are following. There are many legitimate concerns with ChatGPT and cheating, which is a zero tolerance of using artificial intelligence for assignments and exams. One particular danger of ChatGPT being misused is that unlike a lot of historical methods of plagiarism and cheating, it can be hard to detect. In comparison to previously common attempts of plagiarism by students, such as direct copying and pasting, content written heavily by ChatGPT is difficult to detect. However, some tools do exist and even being used in the classroom to flag work that was primarily written by the chatbot. According to the global nonprofit Mozilla Foundation, you can detect ChatGPT written text using online tools such as OpenAI API key. The tool comes from OpenAI itself, the company that makes ChatGPT. The quote highlights a tool that can detect ChatGPT. The need to be able to distinguish hard work written by human versus work written by artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT, is extremely profound. Some of the company that developed ChatGPT, OpenAI, is one of the leading developers of tools that can detect was created by artificial intelligence. Educational systems can utilize tools such as OpenAI Key in order to verify ChatGPT responses are not unfairly passed off as the student's own work. One more effective strategy that can be employed by educators in the education system is to use AI to empower students. While it is almost certain that ChatGPT and future upcoming artificial intelligence powered tools will be continuing to be misused by a small group of students, educators can make use of ChatGPT in order to counteract the various harms of using ChatGPT. As discussed previously, ChatGPT does have many positive use cases, and educators should highlight and explain these to students. Educators can encourage students to use ChatGPT in order to be more productive learners, while at the same time discouraging outright plagiarism of content generated by the chatbot. The future of the relationship between ChatGPT and educators. In conclusion, while ChatGPT is a relatively new tool, it has impacted for both the better and worse the lives of many. In regards to education, ChatGPT has the positive effects of making students both more efficient and productive learners. This is a result of the chatbot receiving prompts that help students gain a more individualized experience. In addition, ChatGPT can be used to help develop 21st century critical thinking skills. It can also be used to help educators create more engaging and individualized lessons. However, ChatGPT also causes harm to the education system, typically in the form of students using the chatbot to do their assignments. A student may unknowingly have incorrect information in their writing, which can be a result of using ChatGPT. AI such as ChatGPT can make a student overly reliant on it, and the student may struggle without the tool of AI. One possible solution can be using guidelines. Another possible solution may be using detectors in order to verify if content was produced by a human or ChatGPT. Given that ChatGPT utilizes machine learning, it is safe to say that it will continue to improve and get better, which can lead to more effective educational uses. However, improvements also may lead to more difficult to detect plagiarism and cheating in the context of education. Therefore, the most likely solution will be using ChatGPT in positive ways to enable students in order to guarantee that ChatGPT is used for positive methods in school. In addition, it is important for education systems to acknowledge and balance guidelines, in particular with regards to the premise that ChatGPT and other AI tools can be used in positive ways to empower students that lead them to be more successful learners. And here's my bibliography.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Brandon. So I will open it now again for a 5-minute Q&A. If anyone has questions, say so.
If you don't mind, I'll ask a question. Thank you again, Brandon, for your comprehensive presentation. The website design, I think, worked very well for sharing your research and your ideas. And again, everything was set up logically and very in-depth. My question is, in this sense of gray area between using ChatGPT and OpenAI to help support students' writing and critical thinking, and also the boundaries of plagiarism, what is your sense personally and through your research of some helpful tips that instructors could use for setting guidelines and helping students use it as a tool, but not be in that kind of dangerous area of over relying on it and plagiarizing?
Thank you for all your help with this project and also your question. And to answer it, I think probably the biggest thing that they could do is kind of make it clear that using it for assignments and just copying and pasting the response from the chatbot for assignments is not allowed. But I would say, kind of to highlight a positive use, maybe the instructor can say, if you're really stuck on an assignment and you're trying to brainstorm ideas for, I don't know, like an essay or something, that it would be allowed in that use case. as long as you're not over reliant on that, and that that sometimes the ideas generated by it are not always factual, kind of like how Wikipedia was first introduced, and that Wikipedia has inaccuracies here and there. So kind of highlighting that occurs in ChatGPT, as it is a very new technology.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions actually. So before this project, before you started this research, what was your opinion on ChatGPT in education? And then did this research change it at all, or did it broaden your viewpoints on its use?
Mm-hmm. So before the project, I never really used ChatGPT or anything, because I always thought if I were to use it, I think it would just honestly take more time, as it would kind of harm my work, and also because I don't think it would be I think I would have to keep going back and back and back. So I never really used it, and so my opinion was kind of neutral on it. I didn't know that some of my friends used it, and I thought maybe they're being a bit overly reliant on the tool, but it seemed like it also was a tool that did make some stuff more efficient. And then after learning from this project, I learned that both the negative use cases are definitely more profound than I thought, but also on the flip side of the coin, the bot does have a lot of positive uses that don't really hamper student learning, and that it can be kind of used as a really important tool, which is something that I think also a lot of companies are starting to see. So reflecting that in the education system is really important, because as the education system, one of the biggest goals is to prepare students for the workforce. Having them learn new skills such as using ChatGPT in positive ways is going to be really important.
Yes, definitely, I agree. And then I had another question. So this just comes off the cuff upon seeing myself use ChatGPT and then other students, but uh, there's an instance where a student could use it not for text generation, but for brainstorming. So say if there's an assignment that said, hey, it's free form, come up with your own thesis, and then a student goes, okay, how about if I were to use ChatGPT to make a thesis for me instead of generating it on my own? And then they only take the thesis and start writing a paper from that. Would you say that would be a positive or a negative consequence of ChatGPT?
Using it to, just to clarify, to generate a thesis statement.
Yeah, so from thinking, it's not give me a paper and turn it in. It's more of give me something to work with, and then coming from that instead of reading the text and thinking about it on your own. Like I'm assuming that students read the text, but they're going, I need a thesis. I can't really think of anything. Use ChatGPT to make a thesis, and then I'll write that essay myself or something. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of goes into the point that it is very hard to create guidelines, because it's kind of uh opinion of stuff. And in my opinion, though, using it for a thesis is kind of very gray area, because on one hand, if you're just using it for the thesis, okay, that's probably fine. It's just the problem is that the thesis is a core component of a paper. So using it for the thesis and having it, like you said, read probably paragraphs and stuff is definitely kind of a little bit gray line in terms of it. But I think if a student is very stuck in coming up with thesis ideas, maybe perhaps ChatGPT listing like a list of thesis ideas, and then the student taking it and kind of rewriting it in their own words would probably be okay, as they're coming up with ideas rather than directly just copying and pasting the idea of the thesis statement.
All right, thank you. Do you have any other questions? Okay, so thank you, Brandon. Thank you for your hard work. Great two presentations. Calculus and game development. I never thought. I and ChatGPT, also very interesting subject. So yeah, Thanks to Mary Beth Headley for mentoring Brandon for that first one, and then to Dr. Luke Lambert here